Welcome back to Walk with TFB. Tim Bryson here, and as you know, I'm a Black millennial who is eager to have unfiltered conversation with authentic people centered on education, sport, and culture. Today, we are walking with a digital marketing professional, content enthusiast, and national champion. A native of St. Petersburg, she started her educational career at the University of Memphis before transferring to Florida State University. While at FSU, she earned her bachelor's degree in international affairs and competed on the track and field team. During the 2015 NCAA Division I Track and Field Championships, my Soror shocked the world and won the 400-meter national championship out of lane 8. Yes, she's fast, and yes, she's the proud initiate of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So, of course, she turned pro and competed as a professional athlete representing Team USA. But after a few years, she pivoted and started running in her evolved purpose. She earned her MBA from St. Leo University and took the digital marketing and brand strategy industry by storm. She now currently works in media and entertainment at the happiest place on earth, otherwise known as Disney. This guest is a friend, a podcaster, a mentor, and a superstar. So without further ado, y'all help me welcome Kayla Thunderberry. Kayla.
Damn, that was a good intro.
I told you I got this. You feel me?
Yo, that was a great intro. Dang, thank you. I feel honored to be here and walking with Tim. I've been looking forward to this for 3 seasons now. So I'm honored to be a part of season 4.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Kayla. And I gotta admit, there's like the whole red flag thing going on Twitter and Instagram and stuff.
Yes.
Like my red flag, whether it's Walk with TFB or Timothy F. Bryson, is that I want everybody on the podcast, and I tell them like, "Yo, you can be on soon." That's my red flag.
Red flag.
So it might have taken a year to change, but we here.
Well, you know what? My advice to everyone: if you want to walk with T, definitely harass him, stay in them DMs, and harass him about it, because I definitely did every season. And so here we are.
Yeah, I'm glad you called me another day. I'm glad it worked out. But check this out. Season 4, all about educators and education.
Yeah.
And your story, just from anyone who were to look at you up on LinkedIn or Google, will find a lot of information and try to put the pieces together. But you're the storyteller of your own life, to which we know from your LinkedIn page. But before we get to your story, I must have to ask you, what brings you Black joy?
What brings me Black joy? Paying it forward. Like, I live by that. I literally feel like I can't succeed in my life if I'm not thinking about the next generation or my sister or my brother next to me. And so I'm very much about uplifting the community and just being a resource. I always look at myself as, how can I support others? And in a way that brings me a lot of joy, but also I feel like puts me in better positions to continue to uplift our community. So that's my Black joy. Yeah.
No, we love it. We're going to talk about mentorship and sponsorship soon in this show. But before we get there, segment 1, what's your story, Kayla?
My story, like you said, I'm born and raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. Shout out to the 727. Hometown, this is very small. We're a little out, or I guess overshadowed by Tampa Bay, because we're like 30 minutes south. But a lot of athletes come out of my city. A lot of people make it to the big leagues. There's just a lot of pressure there. But then there's also, like, any small town, that stronghold of staying there, that sense of community, this is what's familiar. And so for me, I live in Los Angeles, California now. I'm literally on the other side of the country. And so, I always wanted to explore. I always knew that I was kind of a little too big for the small town city. So, like you said, picked up, went to college in Memphis, did an amazing 2 years there, made still like lifelong family friends that, I tap in with every single day. But decided to come back home to Florida and ended up with the Seminoles, had an amazing 2.5 years there as well. With my coaches and my teammates and my friends. I literally made lifelong friends at both colleges, so I wouldn't trade either experience for the world. But I think it always shocked people that I was kind of like, I came out of nowhere in 2015. I always felt like I was definitely an underdog, and I was okay with me. I really loved education. I love learning. I love being in that educational environment. And so that was just something that I always knew I wanted to go get my master's. And so when the sports kind of took off for me, it was a bit of a shock. And there were these expectations to now go pro and to, travel and to try to make the Olympics, which as a little girl, I started running when I was 8, obviously the Olympics is a goal, but I think as the reality started to set in and I was living that lifestyle and, props to my friends who are still either are Olympians or still chasing that dream, it was just, for me, it wasn't fulfilling as I thought it was going to be. And so, like you said, I did my 2 years pro and I was like, I'm out. I found something that I was passionate about, which is digital marketing. I landed at the Walt Disney Company, the happiest place on earth. And I really found my purpose here. And one, not just putting together campaigns that, bring a lot of families joy, but also putting together campaigns that really strive to push diversity and inclusion and equity, trying to be that person who's making change from the inside of the company. A lot of people say, well, why don't you take your talents and be an entrepreneur? And I do, and I have. I've traveled that path, and I love it. But I have mentees, and I know kids that want to work at this company that look like you, that look like me, that maybe even don't look like us, but they are people of color, and in an environment where it is predominantly white sometimes, most of the time. I definitely feel like it's my responsibility to be that change, to make that change for the next generation. And so it brings me joy every day. For the last 2.5 years of being at the company, I've never woken up and say, Mondays, or I don't want to go to work today. Like, I love my job. I love what I do. And so, this is where I'm at, and I want to keep growing. And my hope is that, one day I am leading my own department or leading my own team to really be as inclusive and be that change that everyone is talking about right now. But I mean, I'm all about action, not just words. So that's my story.
I appreciate you sharing that part of your story with us. But I got questions. I got some more questions. First and foremost, you're going to lead your own department and lead your own team one day. But I hope that leads me, and I hope you lead me to some tickets, because I've never been to Disneyland. Either in Cali or in Paris. I mean, wherever you want to take us, that's fine.
We gotta plan a trip.
let me know. I need some tickets for sure. But number 2, you started off in international affairs. You earned your bachelor's in international affairs.
I did.
And everyone at this point knows I love my international athletes. We need to do better by international athletes.
Yeah.
But how did you get from, and talk to us more about international affairs to digital marketing? And we'll talk about this track part in a little bit.
Yeah. So originally when I was at Memphis, my degree was broadcast journalism, and I had always been into marketing, but I didn't know that I was doing marketing. I mean, since high school, I was in journalism. I was on the morning news segments. I was recording. I was behind the camera. I was in front of the camera. I was everywhere. And I loved it. I loved editing. But then as I grew and, got from Memphis to Florida State, I realized that the journalism side of it really wasn't where I was extremely passionate about. And so with international affairs, I felt like that was an avenue for me to really study global business. And I didn't want to limit myself to just business, like a business degree, because I always knew I was going to go to business school and get my MBA. So I was like, let me do something a little different. Let me do some research. And shout out to Hannah, my advisor from college, from Florida State. She was just like, international affairs. And I was like, I love history. I love studying like the history of different organizations, different civilizations. And I feel like we can learn a lot from our past, not just to learn from it, but also to not repeat the same mistakes. And so that's how I ended up in international affairs. Of course, I think a lot of athletes at Florida State did international affairs, but a lot of my teammates were international athletes as well. So it was just, there were so many different avenues you could take in international affairs. You could study education, you could study business, you could study like history. Like, it was so multifaceted. So that's why I loved it. And I was like, this is where I want to be. And I think the one thing that I kind of always knew in the back of my mind is if I wanted to do something, I was going to do it. And it didn't matter what my degree was. And so it was a beautiful 2 years of me being able to just to study literature, to study film, to study history. And I think that's where my love of entertainment really came from. And I was like, that's where I want to go.
This is good. But you mentioned now, I think twice, maybe 3 times, that you always knew you're getting your MBA.
Always.
When did you know that? When did you know that and why?
I honestly, I don't know. You can ask my dad and my grandmother to this day. They like when I was in 6th grade, I came home from school and I was like, I'm going to college. I'm going to get a master's degree and I'm going to study business. And they were like, okay. And, you know, my grandma, she sat me down. She's like, how are you going to pay for that? And I was like, great question. Let me figure that out. And so it was, like I said, I've always loved learning. You know, I came up in magnet programs. I came up in gifted programs, and there was just something about learning new things. Even now to this day, I feel like has always served me, and just being able to be a person who, and that's something I always put on my resume, like willingness to learn. Like that's like the number one quality that I have, is that if I don't know it, okay, I don't know it, but if I want to go out there and learn it, there's nothing stopping me from learning it, except myself. So, you know, it's always just learning has just always been my greatest ally, and it's afforded me to be in the position that I am today. I think the more you learn, the more you grow, the more places you can see, and the more things that you can do in your life.
This is good. This is good already. I don't know what, 5-10 minutes into the conversation. Before we jump to segment 2 and learn more about education from your gifts in particular, right? Mm-hmm. I want to really center our conversation right now on this athlete identity.
Yeah.
Because there's been so much conversation to your point about action, right? We done done awareness campaigns about identity transition, about racial injustice, about LGBTQ. I'm tired of the awareness shit. I'm tired. Like we've been doing awareness stuff every year.
Yeah.
Every year. So before we get into this transition out of your pro career, that's what it was, now it's your professional career, what is holding people back, in your perspective, from pursuing something different than sport? Especially track.
Fear. I think fear is the fear of the unknown, right? When I was 8 years old, I started running track. I got middle school. I'm breaking a minute in the 400 already, right? In middle school, I broke a minute. By the time I was in 9th grade, I was running 58 solid. You know, by the time I was a senior, I was at 55s. So it was a progression for me that all of a sudden came with these expectations, right? Like your family, your teachers. And I mean, when I was in high school, I probably changed my college decision like 3 times. And so part of me, you know, just felt like those expectations, like I had to rise to them. But then eventually I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. And one thing, it shocks people when I say this, but one thing I wish I could change about my past, that I wish I never went pro. I love Team USA. I love getting to travel. I love my teammates. I love the friendship that I made there. But when it comes to identifying and walking your purpose and stepping away from expectations, I would have rather gone straight into my MBA program out of college and started my career, because I know now this is what I'm passionate about. And I'm still young and I got time, you know, but it definitely, sometimes you take a little bit longer because those expectations are there. And so I think a lot of my friends who are athletically gifted, probably more gifted than I am, they love the sport. And it's so hard to walk away from the sport, because you have coaches, you have parents, you have people, your friends are like, we gonna see you in the Olympics one day. That expectation is very heavy to walk away from, you know? And I think a lot of the times there's this thought in the back of our mind, like, okay, well, what do I do next? Right? Like, I don't know. I have a degree. Sure. I have skills. Yeah. But where do I put them? And I think a lot of our friends naturally transition into coaching just to stay close to the sport and do what they are naturally gifted at. Right. But I would say a lot of athletes are really, really great at social media, you know, like really great at marketing themselves. we are literally walking billboards for these schools. We are the face of these universities, and in some instances the face of brands. Mm-hmm. And so you understand marketing a lot better than you think you do. But I think it's a fear of not knowing, how do I transfer these skills from athletics to a professional career? And that's why I'm really big on mentorship, because I was fortunate enough that a mentor stepped into my life, in my first to second year of being an athlete, and said, try this. I want you to do this. I want you to explore social media marketing. I want you to explore it for my business, my small business at the time. And I was like blown away that I had all these skills from track that I had acquired that I could just instantly, like, it just came natural to apply them to marketing. And so it really changed my life, but allowed me to step out of that fear and say, someone sees potential in me and gave me a chance. And that's now what I dedicate my life to doing for others.
This is good. And so I was going to ask, who and or what helped to, serve as intervention for you to think about something differently. Go ahead.
Okay. So my mentor was Courtney. She, when I left Florida State, I went to train in Georgia. And she had a cycling studio in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to Vibe Ride. That was my family. That still is my family. But Courtney literally, I was just blown away when I met this woman. She was a professor. She was a business owner. She was athletic, just like me. And, she literally took me in and was like, I want you to run the communications. And, I just had started my MBA program. And so she literally let me take on the social media for her business. And I learned so much in that space. And then, fortunately, we got the opportunity to shoot at her location for Real Housewives of Atlanta. And that was when I was exposed to that. I was like, entertainment. Yes, I loved it. I loved everything about it. But also, this goes back to when I was a child. My dad was a single father raising 3 girls. And he's very transparent with me about what the world was going to be, what the world was going to be like for me as a Black woman. Very transparent about some of the struggles that I was going to go through, and in some of the struggles that he goes through as a Black man in his business life. And so I think every time I said I was going to do something, my dad was like, let me just get out of her way. Let me just support her and let her do whatever it is she's going to do. And the one thing he always told me, especially when I went to college, was, as long as you're in college, you have a safety net. You can make mistakes. I will always have your back. But then when I graduated, he was like, the safety net is gone. There are consequences to your decisions and your actions. So when I said, I'm picking up and moving to LA, I'm transferring schools, I'm leaving track, like, he was like, these are lifelong decisions. And I hope you thought about them. And I hope you're happy with the decisions you're making, because if you do want to pivot and you do want to change, that's on you now that you're an adult. And so that value, my dad has definitely made me think very rationally about my choices before just being emotional and diving into them. But also my grandmother, his mom, she is such a compassionate person. She always looks at the bright side of things. And so I think between the two of them, I have learned to be a go-getter, but also to be a human, to show myself grace and to show that grace to others, and realize that I didn't have to conform to what society says is professionalism, or what society deems as what you should be doing as a woman. And so in that mindset, I feel like I was just very fortunate with my upbringing to say, do what I want to do. And I think I've learned, especially over this last 2 years, with diversity and inclusion being such a big thing for a lot of businesses and a lot of people around the world, I've learned that my voice is very powerful. And if you put me in a room with the right people, I'm very convincing on why we should do certain things, and I'm very grateful that I have a company and that I'm at a company with leaders that value that have put me in front of, senior executives and say, you'll listen to her. Like, I think she knows what she's talking about, but, they get behind me, they support me. And we are on a path to making real change, I think, in the types of stories that we're telling. because we understand that at the Walt Disney Company, like we're impacting families, we're impacting lives. Like sometimes that's a lot of the first interactions that kids have. And so I'm just very grateful that throughout my life, I've had these types of people around me and been in this environment, and also knowing that I have the power to choose what environment I want to be in. Man, Tim.
Listen, I mean, you ain't gotta, we halfway through. You ain't gotta drop the mic yet. You feel me? you ain't gotta drop the mic yet. That was good. That was some good shit for real. That was really good. That was really good. I'm not validating. I'm just affirming. But I will say, right, you get 90 seconds because I hear your mentor, Courtney. You talked about your father, your grandmother, right? These are almost like parental figures, educators, parental figures that have a strong influence on decision making that students and or children make in their lives. In a similar way, if you had 90 seconds to speak with coaches, many of whom will take on either self-identify and or the student, the athlete identifying it for them as a parental figure, you have 90 seconds with a coach to help them understand the importance of getting involved, gaining experiential learning outside of their sport. What do you tell them?
Be transparent, you know, tell that athlete from the jump, do they have it or do they not have it? Do you have what it takes to make it? And I know that's such a hard conversation to have, right? But like, as a coach, it's your responsibility to let that athlete know. If you feel like, you know, hey, look, you're talented for college and you're going to get this degree and it's going to be great, but you need to start thinking about what's coming after your career. Because whether your career is 4 years at this university, 6, 7, 8 years, whether your career includes the Olympics or not, you're still going to have, most of us tap out at 30 years old. You have a whole life to live. So what's next? You know, and I think it is largely up to those colleges and those, especially those college coaches, to start being really more transparent and more real with them. Yeah, I mean, it's all of our dreams to go pro, and it's all of our dreams to make it to some level of success in the track and field or even any athletic world. But I think it starts with the coach being very transparent and saying, hey, look, you got great skills, but I think you got other skills that are stronger than what you limit yourself to athletically.
Period. Thank you. That's what I needed to hear. Segment 2, though, Kayla. Segment 2, right? We talked about your story. We talked about some of your decisions, whether that's, you know, academic major selection, not even your regret, but your reflection back on your pro experience. But education right now is, I think, is a hot topic, not just for people thinking about the value of higher education given this ongoing pandemic and online learning and whatnot, but particularly about how you now serve as a mentor and even a sponsor to those that you're bringing up as you want to pay it forward in your relationships with other people. So talk to us more about how you served as an educator, both formal and informal, so either mentees and or colleagues and friends throughout your career.
Yeah, I think I started probably as a friend. A lot of it was having these skills in the marketing space and, you know, friends reaching out to me saying they want to start a business and, hey, I need a website. Okay, I'll build them a website. Hey, I need some social media marketing. Okay, I'll help them there, right? And really just saying like, let me hone in on these skills and use this as an opportunity to become a better marketer myself, right? And so I think once I took that time to really build myself up in my friendship space, and I started to expand and become a mentor that, it took off, especially when I got to Disney. I took on, so I started with the Big Brothers Big Sister organization within Disney. We have a workplace mentorship program, and I started with the high school mentee who's now in college, if I can believe it. But you know, starting with her and really just seeing myself in her and seeing like, wow, what a difference my mentors made for me. And I wish they, you know, outside my parents, like would have got hold of me earlier and said, hey, look, you can do anything, you can be anything. And you know, she wanted to go to theater and she wanted to be, you know, a doctor. And I was like, do both, you know, like do both. And she's like, well, I don't know. Like, yes, you can. Like, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. It doesn't matter how much time it takes you to do. If you want to be a doctor and you want to be an actor, guess what? Do it. You can. And so, you know, that was my start. And so after that, I joined the professional internship or mentorship program at Florida State, and have now taken on about 5 to 6 different mentees over the last 2 years. And a lot of them just very different backgrounds. Some of them I started with them when they were juniors and seniors. Some of them I started when they were early as sophomores, and just they were like, I don't know where I want to do. I don't know where to start, but I think I want to do marketing, and digital marketing sounds great. And, when they see Disney on my resume or on my profile, they're like, of course I want to do that. And so, I mean, just sitting down with them individually and learning their stories. Some of them very, very different paths. Some of them had it a lot harder during COVID. Some of them had it a lot easier. Just showing them like, look, whatever life throws at you, you have someone in your corner. You can always come to me and reach out to me for advice. And I'm very, very proud of them and all the things that they have accomplished. And then even now, I've taken on 2 new mentees through Disney on the Yard program, which is specific to our HBCU community, and really trying to get more HBCU graduates into the corporate space, especially at Disney. But for me, it's not just getting them into the space, it's retaining them, right? I want to make sure that they're getting jobs, that there are jobs for them. And if there's not a job for them on their team, there are 1,000 other teams in this company that we can get them a job to, right? And so I just extremely blown away by the mentees that come to me, and they're ready to do the work. And I think the next generation is as eager as ever. And so for me, it's like, I just want to get them in front of the right people, get them in front of the right opportunities. And I mean, very proud to say that a lot of my mentees, even one of my mentees now, she literally works on my team, started as an HBCU grad like 3 months ago, from Howard, came in as a Disney intern, and is now in a couple of weeks going to start as a strategist. Right. And I mean, she's 22 years old. And I was like, don't settle for entry level, girl. Like, no, that's not what we're doing. Like, you have the skills, you're prepared. You're the one thing I love about HBCUs is they're preparing you for, professional environments, but sometimes I think they're preparing you for those environments with your people, right? And so for me, I went to a PWI, but my brother went to an HBCU. And so I can see the different dynamics of what he goes through versus what I went through. And so for me, it's just really leaning into these mentees and these students and now these my coworkers and seeing, what are their skills? What can I understand about them? And how can I help them achieve what they want to achieve? And a lot of that is, I think that's education. I think, just sharing my knowledge and sharing my story and what I learned along the way to really just put them in a better position than I was. And hopefully that they continue to pay it forward as well.
They most definitely will, right? I mean, you are their mentor, and I'm sure that's a cultural expectation that you've set, and lead by example with.
They know.
But thinking about mentorship, right? I'm definitely blessed. As you mentioned, your father, my dad, my mentor Ilya, he was someone that I got connected with him in 3rd grade, like as a mentor. But he made it a point very early to say, like, I'm your mentor, air quotes, but you're also mentoring me, right?
Yeah.
There's a reciprocal relationship that takes place. And so one of my biggest pet peeves in mentor programs is that we don't always talk about the role of the mentee in cultivating that mentor relationship.
Yeah.
How can a mentee best support you as a mentor, but also how can mentees best support their mentor, given that it is a mutually beneficial relationship?
I tell my mentees to just tell me what's up. I treat them like, I never treat them like they're a mentee. I never really treat them like they're beneath me or have something to teach them. I always start the conversations off like with, you tell me what you expect from me. Like, what are you looking for from a mentor? Because I can't go into this relationship and think that I'm here to teach you and then that's what I'm going to do. No, like they teach me so much. And I think the one thing that I love about being a mentor is they teach me so much about being a people manager, right? In my professional life. They've taught me so much about my relationships with my siblings, how to, you're so used with your siblings growing up and telling them what to do. But once we're all adults, now it's like, okay, what can I learn from you? How can I help you? Maybe I just need to shut up and listen, And so I learned that from my mentees all the time, and even they know they can call me anytime. They can call me crying. They can call me upset. They can call me about life situations. I'm always a phone call away. If I don't know, I'm happy to connect them with one of my friends who are in, doing a business that they're interested in. And so really just, like I said, when I became a mentor, it was taking that step further and seeing what I could learn from my mentees, in a supportive role. Like, I think the mentees definitely should take it upon themselves to say, don't be timid and come in and be like, what can I learn from you? No, tell me what you expect. Tell your mentors what you want from them, right? I wanted a various number of mentors, like, and I wanted from different backgrounds. Like, I got mentors who are white men, I got Black women, I got Hispanic mentors, like I got them all, because their walks of life are different than mine, but the way that they handle business, the way that they can conduct themselves in a business setting, I need to know. Because if they're acting like that, that's not to say that I can't now, because we know.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it gave me the confidence to say, you know what? I'm not going to let my skin color define me. Now, I love us all up and down the street, and I'm rooting for everyone Black. But I definitely want to be in environments where when I step into a meeting with the vice president, listen to me. You know what I'm saying? Listen to my perspective. Listen, because I'm, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want them speaking for the community, but listen to me, because I'm gonna speak for my community, and I'm gonna tell you what we expect. We want more. We expect equality, and we may not get here. We may not get there today or tomorrow, but I'm hoping that my kids and my grandkids and my nieces and nephews are the beneficiaries of the work that I'm doing now. And so I think that's the thing, that mentees need to go into these mentorship programs and sponsorship programs and say exactly what you're looking for. I'm looking for a job. Say, hey, I need you to put me in contact with somebody in the product department because I want to be a product marketer. All right,
Mm-hmm.
done. Because I don't want to waste your time.
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I think with mentees going into that relationship, in that conversation, expressing their expectations, right, asking for what they want, I think not only does it make our roles as mentors much more efficient, number one, but then two, it then helps to delineate whether you really need a mentor or a sponsor.
Yeah.
And you and I both know that
mentors are not the same.
You see what I'm saying? But we also know that women and non-whites are over-mentored and under-sponsored.
Under-sponsored.
So talk to us more about sponsorship, because that's not a term we, particularly in the Black community, which I'm going to speak on behalf of right now, it's our podcast, talk about enough, because it makes a difference in the elevation and advancement of one's career.
Oh, 1,000%. I think I was extremely frustrated early on in my professional career because I was getting a lot of mentorship. Here, do this, try this, and not enough people put me in the right positions to grow my career, right? Mm-hmm. And then I came across, God bless Chanel Marks. She was my first manager at Disney as a full-time employee, and she's Latinx, Latina, second generation Mexican American, and I mean, just a force. And she's so short. I love her, but just such a force. I mean, she saw potential in me. And then from the moment I joined her team and I was reporting to her, she was like, Kayla's going to do it. Like within a month, she gave me my first campaign. Kayla's going to do it. It's social. Give it to Kayla. And I was like, huh? Like, and a big name client too. I was like, you sure you want? Yeah. She was like, you got this. I'll back you the entire way. And I mean, gave me the confidence that it was unmatched. I still to this day am shocked, and we are the best of friends. I trust Chanel with everything. I go to her and she gives me such amazing advice from every perspective, not just business, but she's a mom, she's a working mom. She's a wife. She gives me financial advice from living in LA. Like, she's just everything that I could ask for in a mentor, but also in a friend. And she took it a step further and really, like I said, fought for me to get opportunities to grow in the company. I've done like 3 or 4 stretch projects this year, which are like projects outside of your role, your day-to-day role, where you can go to another team for like a couple of months and you can work on that team and you can learn things, which I think a lot of companies either have, but people don't know about. And I mean, she fought. She fought and was like, Kayla's going to do this. And, she got support behind that, and I mean, probably in the back of her mind, knowing that once I stepped out into that other world, I mean, I went to another team for 3 months and I came back with a different job offer. And I didn't know she knew that I was not coming back to her team, but I think she was so confident in me, and she knew like, Kayla's got all these skills. She's got a master's degree. Like, she needs to soar, and I'm gonna get behind her. And she did. And I mean, even since then, the way that when I interview for jobs now, I'm looking for that. I intentionally go into these interviews and I look for managers or people leaders that are invested in their talent, that are invested in their, their direct reports. And so I thankfully have another great a manager right now, where she just literally gives me the ball and says, Kayla, I trust you, run with it, do what you have to do. And again, putting me in the room, like if I put a presentation together, she's like, Kayla's presenting it, right? And I mean, getting in front of senior VPs should be extremely like nerve wracking, but I've done it so much now that it's nothing. Like, and these are the people I think that need to get behind a lot of Black women, because it is very frustrating for us. Our community is different. You have women who are the most educated demographic ever, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then you have us who some of us are single moms, some of us are, in relationships, some of us want to have kids. Such a like intersectionality in the Black community and within Black women alone, right? That you want to amplify. And I think the only way to amplify that is to sponsor these women. Be the person that says, I put my name on her name. And if I walk into a room, my name holds weight, her name better hold the same weight and respect as mine. That's the type of sponsorship that Black women need, because I promise you, we will never fail you. We have every intention of being the best that we can be, so we can put the rest of our team or our family or whoever's behind us in better positions.
She said, go get me a bucket. She gonna soar. I think that's the thing. You hit on the head. You hit it on the head. If you get sponsored, and when you're sponsored, you got to ball out.
You got to, and we already know that. Black women know that.
You got to ball. Period. You got to ball out. You got to. You got to. But I want to pivot a little bit back to sport in a way, because you won the national championship, which is something I even putting this bio together. I'm like, yo, like we don't talk enough about moments in history, whether that's sports or life, music. Yeah. Because had you gotten second, that's a whole different story. Who knows what happened? Nevertheless, you're the top seed going in, but as someone said on the interview, you weren't the favorite.
He's not the favorite.
You come out of lane 8, which anyone that runs track knows lane 8 and lane 1. You come out of lane 8 and win the natty. Now, if it was back in 2015, let's go back in time, 6 years, and NIL was a thing,
my career would have been different. My career would have been so different. I would have been sponsored out of college. Like when I stepped off that track, there would have been a contract waiting for me. I had a solid following on social media at that time. I definitely had more than my friends. I like about 5,000-6,000 followers. Pretty cute looking girl. Young, knew how to carry myself, knew how to do interviews. Just very excited, energetic, wanting to just be there, be in the moment. Oh, I would have had a different career. Definitely different career.
So let me tell you this. It just hit me. I actually started following you after that race.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I did. Well, obviously I'm like, damn, out of lane 8, and it was a photo finish. But I'm like, she Soror too.
A lot of track.
I said follow. But we were going fast forward back to 2021, and name, image, and likeness is real, right? It's been going on now for the last 4 months. You're talking to college athletes, college professionals, college athletics professionals on this podcast right now, right? What are we talking about, right? How can one maximize what's happening right now in the NIL space?
Oh, stop looking at your following. I think a lot of people think that you need tens of thousands of followers to be impactful, and you don't. I saw an Instagram reel the other day, and it said, yeah, I have 30 people that viewed mine, and that may not seem like a lot. But if 30 people walked into this room right now with me to watch what I was doing, I would be overwhelmed, right? So think about that. And that is something that I feel like is so impactful, right? I posted a IG reel for my birthday, just goofing around. It's like 2,000, 3,000 views, right? I'm like, now what are 2,000, 3,000 people caring about my little birthday? But then I started to realize my following is whatever my following is going to be. My reach is going to be whatever my reach is going to be. So don't limit yourself to, oh, I don't have enough followers. Doesn't matter. Lean into your story and lean into your audience. Who is your audience? Who are the people that are following you? And I promise you're going to inspire them. The one thing that I love, the one athlete that I love from last year in track and field, Tara Davis. Man, infectious, just all around nice girl, you know what I'm saying? Went through a very similar situation that I did, transferring schools, had to sit out a year, came back, you know, and just dominated, and just is still such an infectious personality on social media. Now, granted, yes, she has a, you know, larger following, but that doesn't matter. You can tell, like, when you walk up to her, like, she's going to take a picture with you. She's going to talk to you. She's such a nice girl. And I think those are the type of people that brands want to get behind. I don't care if you got 1,000, 2,000 followers, right? Your name is the most important thing. Your image is the most important thing. Your likeness. It doesn't say your following is the most important thing. You know, how many IG lives you do, like, none of that matters, right? So my advice is to these college athletics and these college students looking into, you know, NIL and how can I get a brand partnership? Look at the brands that you follow, reach out to them, put yourself out there. And, you know, I know that may seem like a difficult thing to do, but you have a story. Everyone has a story, and everyone's story is unique. And it matters to the people that are following you. You are making an impact to people that you don't even know you're making an impact to. And so I really encourage, you know, whatever your following is, or however many followers you have or don't have, you know, just tell your story and be good at telling your story, right? Like, be good at kind of marketing yourself, because the things that you think are small, right? Like, I, to this day now, 6 years ago, I think winning a national championship is small, but every time I join a team or I get a new team and, like, there's like, well, tell us something about yourself. And I always like, oh yeah, I won a national championship. And people are shocked. And I was like, I forget that that was such a big achievement sometimes, that, you know, because I have other goals now. But to other people, it's impactful, and it expands the people that I can reach, right? Like, even though I work in marketing now, I still have a heart and connection to the sports world, right? And so really just my advice is lean into, you know, your audience, lean into your story. But also the biggest thing that I will encourage, get some financial guidance. Get you a mentor who can give you some advice financially. Now, no, in no way, shape, or form am I saying to hire them as your manager or your accountant, but seek out that advice. Seek out ways that you can, if financial security is a thing for you, which I think for a lot of athletes it is, get some advice. You know, even if you got to go to your, you know, athletic advisor in college and say, hey, look, I want to talk to somebody in the finance department. I want to talk to a finance student. I want to know what this could look like for me if I start doing brand partnerships. I want to know, you know, partner with someone in marketing. I want to know what that looks like. I think that, again, more education, the more you know, the better you can be. And then again, it doesn't matter what your following is, because now, you know, look at, take Tara, for example. Tara Davis is signed with Champion, right? She could have signed with Adidas. She could have signed with Nike. She could have signed with anyone else. She signed with a brand that I think she relates to. And I think it's a beautiful thing, because she's going to go so far with that brand, and she's going to put their name on the map once again. And they're probably going to value her a lot more than these bigger companies that have more, you know, bigger names. So find a brand that works for you, find a brand that values you and share the values that you have. And just don't rely on your followers. It's really not that important.
Kayla. So this is what I'm gonna do. I might do something different.
Something different?
I'm gonna send it to you, and I can amplify it. I will amplify it. I'm just gonna cut the last, 10 minutes, however long you're just talking just now, chop it up, and then send it out to all 1,100 schools across the NCAA.
Send it to them.
Because that's textbook performance and execution.
Yeah.
And I think too often, and I think to your point, right, in the Kirby's point, shout out to Kirby Porter, to
Yeah.
y'all's point, right, is like going back to this whole like diverse or non-white voices in sport, yada, yada, yada. You have all these companies talking about NIL from an analytics standpoint, right, from a followership standpoint, predominantly led by white men. And we don't have diverse and multi-ethnic voices such as yourself and Kirby's who are speaking the truth about storytelling and brand management, particularly because of the fact that it's not just these 4, 5, 6 years that you're in school for those who have the COVID year. But if you set this shit up right, you're good for a very, very long time.
Long time.
Yep. A very, very long time. So I was going again. I love our community. I love Walk with TFB because if you have not done keynote speaking engagements already, I'm speaking into existence now. You are going to be one of the leading voices. I'm not bullshitting.
Give me a TED Talk.
I'm not bullshitting, yo, because you're speaking truth, yo. And I think to everyone's point about these different companies, right? They're focused on the followership, right? Even though it says name, image, and likeness. I love how you spelled that out.
Yeah.
But these companies are not equipping, nor are many student athlete development professionals on campus being equipped and or told to help these athletes tell their story.
Right. For real.
And that's free.
That's free. It costs nothing. It costs nothing to teach somebody how to tell their story. I'm gonna write a book, because at this point,
let me write the forward. I got you. Let me write the forward. But transition to that was good shit, man. For real. Segment 3. You talk about paying it forward. You probably got like 20, 30 mentees at this point, and I'm sure people are gonna reach out to you afterwards, wanting to be their mentor as well. But how can I and how can our podcast community best support you?
Oh man, lean into your own story. If you want to reach out to me, reach out to me. Tim dropped my Instagram. I'm more than happy to connect with people and make time for people to really just talk about, professional development, personal development. Like, I got friends who I think, especially now, people are, want to change in their career. Like, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't hesitate to reach out and ask those questions, but also understand when you reach out to me, I expect you to pay it forward. I expect that you will, if I put my name or attach my name to you, do something with it. If I put you in the room with the right people or put you in a position where you want to be, do something with it, and so I have a podcast coming out with one of my close friends. It's called The Daily Duo. We're looking to launch around Thanksgiving of this year and dropping new episodes, going into next year. And so really just, supporting me, but also taking whatever you take from me and say, hey, you know what, I could do that. Find you a mentee in high school and middle school and get involved in their lives. Even if you're meeting with them on a monthly basis or bi-weekly basis, get involved, right? Because that's the only way our community gets better. That's the only way that women get sponsored, right? That's the only way that Black men are getting these opportunities and not looking like a threat when they raise their voice because they're passionate about something, right? And showing that we are not a monolithic culture. We're not a monolithic community. We're all different, but we all offer something of value. And so really, I encourage people to do that, even if you're not connecting with me. That's what I hope everyone walks away with, because that's my biggest thing. Like, mentorship and sponsorship is going to take us a long way. Like, that's going to take us far. I feel like that's the pivotal change. And when I talk to my grandfather, he's in his 70s, so he's seen a lot in our community, right? And sometimes there's no hope in his voice when he's like, oh, I don't know if we're going to reach equality. And in the back of our minds, I feel like it's really easy for us to like lean in. They'll never treat us equal. That's fine. I don't want to be equal to what you deem equal, right? I want to be my most authentic self. And so I want to encourage anyone listening to this to continue to encourage people to be authentic, to speak their truth, and learn to tell their story, because your story is going to change some kid, some adult, some peer of yours, whole perspective on life. And having more of these conversations and having more of these podcasts, I think, are really important. So share your truth and be authentic with it. And that's what I hope everyone takes away from this.
You said, I don't know, a minute 3 or 4. You hope to one day lead a department or lead a team.
Yeah.
I said, lead me to some tickets, right? If you want to hire me too, you can hire me too to be on your team. I would love to be led by you, Kayla.
Thank you.
Nah, seriously, most definitely. I mean, this is good. It's just good. This the one that's gonna go viral.
This goes viral, man. They need to put us both in a room. Like we need to both be leading some TED Talks.
Hey, look, if it go viral, I'm calling somebody in Walt Disney Estate and being like, what's up?
Hey, let me call them first. You're
right. But before we bounce, yo, I got a couple questions for you, a couple fun questions before we get out of here. First and foremost, your favorite sports memory.
Favorite sports memory? These are I got 2 of them that tie. Okay, so when I was at Memphis, regionals, my sophomore year, 4x4, we were at North Carolina A&T. We were in a heat with LSU. They were supposed to win the heats. Let me tell you how Memphis walked them down. I'm to this day trying to find that video. I have friends who still talk to me about that race all the time. And I love that 4x4. I love those girls. Shout out to Monica, Kiana, and Maya. I love that race. I loved everything about that race. We ended up going to nationals. We didn't place in the finals, didn't get to the finals, but that memory is something that to this day I always hold very dear to me. And the same thing when I think about regionals again at Florida State. That relay just I love something about the 4x4. There's camaraderie, even in it, who's gonna get the fastest split time. Like there's just something about those girls. They are my family, and all those girls are some of my closest friends to this day. But I love me some 4x4. Those are my best memories.
That's dope. And for the record, what leg were you in that one against LSU?
I was 4th.
Hey, look, I'm trying to sponsor you. I'm trying to amplify the story, yo. Come on now.
I don't know who was on LSU 4th leg, but I'm sure they walk them down. If you guys remember that, call me.
I'm gonna find them at Adam, yo. Let me stop. Hey, top 5 artists.
Musical artists or any art?
Any art.
Oh man.
Very inclusive here. Any art.
I love me some Wale. Wale for us. He bowed us. I love him. His music it's poetic. It speaks to me. It's very soft, but it's very truthful and impactful. Issa Rae, obviously. That Black woman is doing her thing, and I am so happy to see that in the industry and seeing more Black women like her coming up and getting out there and telling their stories and telling our stories and unapologetically saying I don't have to include anyone else in this story because this is about us and this is for us. Let me see, that's number 2. Dave Chappelle right now, my God, he is iconic storyteller. If you haven't seen his last stand-up, it was the most beautiful piece of artwork I've ever seen. And I feel like he needs to win a Pulitzer Prize for that one because the way that he tells a story, yes, it's sarcastic, but I mean, it was so impactful. It hit me. And I was like, dang, okay. So I respect Dave Chappelle so much, and I always have, but I love his last piece of work. J. Cole, I'm from the South. My family's in North Carolina. I love J. Cole. I've always loved J. Cole. I hope he really keeps doing his thing. And you know who I love right now? Chloe Bailey. Come on. Yeah, that girl's killing it. I love that she's owning whatever it is that she wants to be. She's young, she's raw. I think her artistry is limitless. People say, oh, she's the next Beyonce. I think she got the right support behind her. She's bigger than that, because she's not conforming to what the industry says she should be. And I love that about her right now. I love that about Black women at all together.
No, that's a good one. That was a hot take. And so
that was a high 5.
I'm just saying, if you have an issue with Kayla comparing Chloe to Beyonce, go to Kayla's Instagram, not mine.
Me. I love the Beehive, but I really think when you look at it, the Beehive, it really has gotten behind Chloe, and that's her mentor.
Exactly.
Beyonce is her mentor.
It's supposed to. Yeah.
She's supposed to be bigger than her.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like Wayne and Drake. No, for sure. Brunch, bottomless mimosas. You plus 5 people. Who are you bringing? They could be living or deceased.
These are fire. If I could get in a room with 5 people, Lin-Manuel, man, the writer of Hamilton. Come on, nobody can tell me that man's not a genius. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with him. Shout out to him, like just musically, just gifted. Oh God, love him. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with him. Man, this a list. Like this a tough list.
This you plus 5 people.
There's so many people I want to sit down with.
Yeah, this is one brunch.
Michelle Obama. Come on. Put me in there with our forever first lady. So graceful, so impactful, so strong. Definitely would love to sit down with her. Add Obama to that too, because what's a brunch without Michelle and Barack? You know what I'm saying? So I want the both of them there. Let's see, musically, who would I want at the table? You know what? I'm gonna take a step back. I'm actually I haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet, but she actually works within my company. Her name is Jan Coleman, and I've heard amazing things about her. She's a Black executive leader at the Walt Disney Company. Wow. I mean, every time I hear of anything diverse or anything with our community, Jan is in that conversation. And I just like, how does she get the time? Where does she have the time? And so I really look forward to meeting her, but I would love to sit down and have a very candid conversation with her over brunch with bottomless mimosas. Like, come on, girl, let's chop it up. So shout out to Jan Coleman. And then lastly, Bob Iger, man, just talk about powerful CEO, talk about powerful leadership, talk about being a very charismatic and caring. Now, I mean, I get it. He's a businessman, but charismatic man. I mean, when I started this company, there were people that I looked up to, but Bob Iger has so much knowledge when you look back at what he's done for the company and as a CEO over the last, 30, 40 years of his career with this company. Just everyone always had nice. I've never met anyone in this company who said anything bad about Bob Iger. So he wrote a lot of amazing books. I've read his books. I've heard his masterclass, and I really encourage anyone who's interested in business to tap into whatever Bob Iger is saying, because you can learn. He dropped some gems. But definitely we want to get him at the brunch table.
That's a good table. That's a really good table. Okay. Well, the last question for you today. The last question.
All right.
I think you know who I want, but who do you want to see and or hear from on Walk with TFB podcast?
You think I know who you want on this podcast?
You know which type of people I'm looking at. Who I think would be interesting to talk to.
Man, I think I told you this before, and I don't know if she knows that I'm going to recommend her, but I mean, I would say like Tara Davis. She's amazing. I'm happy to try to facilitate that one. I think so many people could learn from her, especially in this meal world. But also Tiana Daniels. She's a runner who came out of Florida, from the hometown. She was coached by Coach Rick, who's now at Florida State. She went to Texas. Beautiful, beautiful story of just perseverance, of just very, very humble, very talented young girl. So I get behind Tiana Daniels any day.
I don't know. I'm coming.
I'm gonna hit them up at the DMs.
If they're not on the daily duo yet, before I get to them, they're gonna be on Walk with TFB, y'all.
Man, look, get on this walk.
They're gonna be on Walk with TFB. But Kayla, thank you for taking a walk with us, man.
Thank you for having me on this walk. This is very beautiful. I enjoy the conversation. Shout out to the frat, shout out to the family. We're doing amazing things, and I hope that you continue these walks and these conversations because they're needed. We need them.
I appreciate it. And like I said, when you're leading your team, your department, At that point, Walk with TFB will have evolved and have traveling video equipment. We will come, record an episode at Disneyland because you can get
that. Let's do that.
Appreciate you, Kayla. For everyone else, thank y'all again for tuning in to another episode of Walk with TFB. The season's flying by, but it's been fire as hell. So make sure that you continue to listen to all the stories being distilled on this podcast, particularly around education and educators. Look forward to having more unfiltered conversation with authentic people centered on education and sport as we progress through season 4. But as always, until then, walk with me.